Yeah, that was something to introduce as a, important issue for every. So John, Tim, or, Barry, are you there?
John Reiser's here, just listening in, not deliberating.
Okay. Appreciate your presence. And how about Barry? Are you there? Oh, well. This is mine.
I think this might have some.
Well, now.
Yes. Okay. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. We have a roll call.
Janine LaPrade,
Here.
Marty Mayo,
Here.
Lisa Pappas.
Here.
Tim Redmond,
Here.
John Reiser, here via Zoom.
By Zoom.
Will Weber.
Here.
Liz Wiseman is here, Barry is here via Zoom, and Chris Chang is here.
Okay, good.
Well, I'm listening via Zoom, but I'm not present for purposes of quorum and or deliberations.
Right, we
We'll
know,
make note.
But we have a quorum right here.
we do.
Yeah, we're set to go here. So, has everyone received the agenda? Liz, thank you for sending that out. Any comments or additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for approval of the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
I don't think you need a motion. and
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll support.
All right, moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes, again, they went on for pages and pages, but very, very nicely done, Liz. Any comments on the minutes from the last meeting?
Well, and Liz, I just have one clarifying question. There was a reference to moving Honey Creek in the notes, moving Honey Creek tied to some
Oh,
new development.
Yeah, I
The
was wondering
trail,
about
that-
that too.
that was the planning, was that?
I think-
Riser's report on planning.
Is that where that came from? Okay, I just didn't, I don't,
It's the access, I think, from Stabler to Park Road to accommodate that new subdivision.
oh, it's an access point. Okay, I just couldn't
Okay.
figure out how we were moving Honey Creek.
No, we're not.
To,
No, it's. Well, you
Sorry.
can't route rivers. Is that what it's?
It literally says in our minutes, moving Honey Creek. We may wanna
Okay, yeah, okay, I'll.
clean that up
I'll
or
revise
clarify.
that. Yeah, thank you.
All right,
That was unclear then.
any other comments? Thank you. Sure. All right, may we have a motion then to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Marty.
So moved.
All right, seconded.
And Lisa.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Opposed, and-
All right, we're down to item 5, public comments. We have some visitors. Welcome. Any of you like to say anything at this point?
I will introduce myself.
Please.
I was able to informally just come by and say hello. My name is Judy Monk.
Speak up just
And,
a little bit.
okay, my name is Judy Monk and I live at 5554 Gallery Park Drive, which is just off of Zeeb Road, south on Zeeb Road. And I'm running for trustee in the next election. But my important message is to vote. Because the primary is going to be the deciding vote. So if you want to have a voice in local representation, please vote during this primary cycle. There are only Democrats on the ballot. So whoever gets through the primary will in fact be your representative. So I know for the Republicans in our township, it will be a tough choice because they will have to either stick with the Republican side and not vote on local issues or slightly give up on the Republican side for the election and vote on the local things. So that's my big message is to vote, and the primary is August 6th. But the absentee voting will start as soon as the end of this month. So keep that in mind, that it's a really important election for the local. And I am one of 7 trustees that is running. Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, sure.
Oh, what motivated you to run for trustee?
Well, I'd like to give credit to Sean, but he doesn't want to take the credit. But I'll tell you why. The Pizza Hut. The Pizza Hut is what got me involved in coming to meetings, trustee meetings. The Pizza Hut that was in disrepair, blight, dangerous, not secured, downright ugly, and did not belong in Scio Township. And it greeted me at that intersection for all my time here. And I'd had it. And when I first inquired about it, there was no response, because my first inquiry was by email, no response. So I came to a meeting, and what I found was a lot of head turning about who was responsible. No one was responsible. So then I came back again, and we got a little bit further along, and that was about the same time as Sean was hired. So I like to give him credit for it, but it was when they finally got to doing something about it, and that's what got me started. And then once I started coming to the meetings, I realized that my experience would be, could be, will be a positive influence on the governance of this township. I come with tremendous experience, 20 years of office experience in government, and corporate experience of 18 to 20 years. I know about good governance. I know about respect. I know about bringing heads together that might not always come together. Listen, respect one another, talk to one another, and always keep in mind your constituents. And that's what I think. What I saw was that the township residents, voters are being shorted. And I don't like that. I think we can do better. I think we can do better, and I want to be part of the doing better.
What do you mean by shorted?
Well, I don't think we're seeing the full potential of the individuals that are sitting on the board because of when someone shares an idea, another one does not give the idea or the solution a full hearing or hearing them out. It's sometimes judged by who they don't trust or who they trust, as opposed to hearing out who they might be representing. And in order to move an entire township forward, you really must explore representation, and you must explore everyone's ideas. Not only the law within the law, but also we're a township that is going through, I don't know, someone could say transformation, someone could say growing pains, someone could say growth. But I come from a rural area that also has a small city from the Upper Peninsula, from my younger days. And it's about putting heads together and seeing, how do farmers get along with the ranchers? Oklahoma, the message of Oklahoma, you know, we can all grow together and serve each other better.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah,
We could
Sorry.
move
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Can I just ask Judy, do you have a email address?
I do, and it's on that, but I will give it to you. And also, if you come to this event that Jack is sponsoring, then I will also be available there for meet and greet. So thank you for your questions, and thank you. Yes.
We're gonna try to finish by 5:30 today, so if we can move along, we'll do that. Are there other public comments? Anyone present, sir? No?
I'm not present.
Richard's doing the presentation.
Okay. Oh, good. Oh, you're Richard. Okay, welcome, Richard. Anybody online who wants to say anything?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Judy. All right, we're going now to reports of other commissions. Thank you, John Reiser, who's on Zoom, for your detailed report about the BOT and I believe planning. Parks and Pathways and Preserves, is there a report there?
The Van Curler, we met yesterday, the Van Curler apron is paved, so you can park there.
Oh.
I'm really repeating what Chris said from yesterday. So that's ready to go. It's, Chris has ordered, signs and the kiosk. We need to do some more trimming for safety at the entrance, just for, visibility. Bria, Sheffer's proposal to restore the old field in Van Curler is moving along. We're kind of
Great.
trying to move that forward. We talked a little bit about remediation of the arsenic at Sloan, Preserve. Township Hall Park discussions are ongoing. And I guess that's all I have.
All right, good, thank you.
Question,
Yes.
what are we doing about the vacant space that Anna left?
Oh, there were 5 applicants, last I heard, and they were being interviewed.
That's correct. The interviews have been completed. From what I gathered, there was 2 strong candidates and now they're being vetted. So
Okay, good.
that's where it stands. I don't have a higher date, but that's where we're at.
Good to know.
All right. Do we have a report from the Sustainability Task Force? Did you guys meet?
Yeah, just a reminder that October 6th is the Sustainability Fair, which is gonna be in the Meyer parking lot. And there are several movements going on within the sustainability group, but I won't report on all that. I'll just say that there's gonna be a short paragraph or 2 from the sustainability group on what Mike Vestergaard is doing out there on Wagner Road and what he intends to do for the township. And I interviewed him for it, and I think he's got really good plans to draw the citizenry into the operation by building a barn. He's gotta go through all the issues of zoning and building codes, but he's gonna build a barn and have as a teaching facility for him. And he's got his eyes out for younger people in the township to encourage them to consider agriculture, as Richard has for their lives.
Should there be an update about the Wren's property too? Like maybe,
That's it. That's
oh, I thought you said
Yeah.
Vestergaard.
Yeah,
Vestergaard
that
is.
is the best part.
That's his.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
not-
okay.
So where, did you said you interviewed him? What, did you say you did an article or?
Yeah,
I
a
meant
short article
honeybee.
that's gonna be in the upcoming
Excellent.
newsletter.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
Great.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Tim. All right. Have we missed anything with commissions? Any reports that, all right, good, thank you, Tim. Everyone, old business, Richard Andrews, it's your opportunity here to tell us a little bit about hugelkultur and what you have going on. You want to step up to the table here?
Yeah.
Mind if I sit?
Please.
Okay.
Make yourself comfortable.
Can you speak loudly, Richard?
Well, thank you for this opportunity to talk and answer questions. I don't know, how much time do you want to take here?
Well, I think if you could give us 10 minutes and then we'll take 5 for questions.
Okay, okay. Yeah, this project, I think it's caught the attention of a number of people that I think have voiced some concern or condemnation because of the logs that are being put on the property. And the logistics for last winter didn't work out for us to move the logs out to the locations where they have their final resting place, which is on basically contour or key line of the existing large swales that come through the property. There's 2 of them. And they go from kind of the east to the west. And there's a good deal of erosion and things that have occurred over the years. And we're interested in, keeping the water on the land. So the logs would serve a purpose basically of a nurse log. A more elaborate way of dealing with them is the hugelkultur, where you actually bury the logs and they have ground contact. But another way of doing it is just to lay them on a contour, on a key line contour. So there's a little jargon that probably doesn't really explain what's gonna happen. So I'm working with a videographer who's a realtor and a real estate guy, and he's doing a drone mapping of the whole site.
Richard, could you speak up a little bit, please?
Yeah. So we're mapping the whole site with a drone. And we'd like to do an overlay of these corridors that we're going to create to hold the water on the land with the logs. So they're going to act as nurse logs. So the saying among silviculture or forestry people is when a tree dies, it begins to live, literally, because there's a lot of activity, both in a fungal way and also bacterial, insects, millipedes, centipedes, worms. And so this is basically, we're feeding the micro livestock to bring back the culture on the land. So these are materials that are brought in free. Nobody pays to bring them in. And it's been a relationship of trust with a very energetic bunch of arborists, landscapers, and tree trimmers. And they have brought a lot of material. And we stockpiled a good deal of this so that it's visible from the road. And I think that's what caught people's attention. And concern over desecration of the land. And certainly not my intention to desecrate the land. I'd like to culture native trees and plants and a perennial polyculture there, which is already occurring. We took a little bit of a circuitous route in this way when we approached the USDA about putting in native grasses. They wanted to see, a year of corn and then a year of soybeans so that we could clear out all the weeds. Our tact was to then just allow what was existing there to go and then observe the process of, weeds reclaiming the land, habitat for pollinators and birds. About as aggressive as we got was we purchased a disc to straighten out the ruts that had come from the season before. They had a wet season to get their corn out, so we had some ruts. But we also noticed there's a lot of clover, so we just started to oversee clover, which isn't a native, but it does the same purpose of enriching the soil. So roots in the soil create the fertility, not synthesized fertilizers coming from Louisiana, Ukraine, or Russia, or wherever it is that we do that kind of a thing. So that, kind of serves as a living model of building soil the slow way. And it's sort of been our luxury to be able to observe how that site's transformed from, dandelions to clovers, goldenrods, and grasses, and now deciduous trees that have been planted by squirrels and just flying through the air. The cottonwood is just flying through the air all the time, so it's relocated itself there, and it's a nitrogen fixing plant. It can live in the most desolate sandbar and thrive because it has a symbiotic bacteria on its roots and it nodulates. So you know, we've been the beneficiary of that. We've been the beneficiary of some official introductions by the Soil Conservation Service, such as the autumn olive and the multiflora rose. I'm not sure they're responsible for the buckthorn, but we do see the buckthorn and the Bradford pear. So all these plants are creating, you know, ecosystem services in terms of building fertility in the soil. And we're going to adjust our plantings accordingly, and try to hold the soil in place. So the addition of the logs was to create corridors on contour and then have bands of trees that would be on the downward slope and benefit from the water and the spongy effect of the logs as they decay. We also take in a good deal of chips. That's very helpful in terms of mulching, and it creates a connection, an energetic connection with the whole area. And so, you know, we see local materials being brought in. It's a service for those people that are bringing them in, and it's a service for us to, you know, create this super fertile, long-term release of nutrients to the soil and building that back after, you know, whatever it's been, 100 years of industrial agriculture. You know, there's still some soil remaining, but we're fixing to, you know, try to be an example of, you know, a perennial polyculture, which would include trees, bushes, plants, and attract community members out there to participate in some of our events. We have, you know, strawberry picking and other berry picking, but we also have a Washtenaw County naturalist, Sean Severance, that comes out in the fall, and we have a nut festival. So we're celebrating plant-based proteins from native trees and native biome. So that's the vision. We've had some problems recently. Some people dumped a bunch of construction debris on us. There was an announcement on a Google review. The person didn't really leave their name or anything, but they said that we would take anything out there. Then suddenly we had, you know, 3 loads of construction trash. Prior to that, not so much. There was a little plywood came in, but not really so much came in that way. Most people, I find you can trust them, you know, and that's kind of the basis of our operation, is that it's one of trust. But we've since shut the site down. We're not taking anything in unless people contact me and they're pre-approved by me. So we have a site is shut down. And we'd like to catch up on our moving of the wood. You know, I mentioned earlier that we're going to create a video based on this drone footage, and also me maybe droning along with the footage describing what our vision is. And that's up and coming. We'd like to put maybe one of those QR codes or something on a sign at the road, so if people want to talk about it, if they want to come to the Nut Festival or be participating by bringing compost out or something, or working on the farm. There's plenty of that interaction that's occurring there. So I think that's about 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Well, I had a question about materials, which you answered, because I think that's what we heard a little bit about during a prior meeting when one of the residents came by and was saying, and I haven't had a chance to drive by the site, but I just want to say too, I really appreciate your leadership and your vision for this. And it does remind me, I live next to the Fox Science Preserve, which is essentially a recovering gravel pit. And one of the things that I really appreciate about the county's commitment to and connection to that space is they've put up some signage, which, you know, helps people understand, you know, what's happening and what they're seeing, you know, as they're in that space. And my husband and I, who have turned our yard, essentially removed a tennis court that was there, and then you know, essentially attempting to just kind of bring it back to some more natural vegetation. We've been joking about putting signs all around our yard that says like, this is a rain garden, or just so like our neighbors and others don't wonder, you know, why do you have a pile of wood debris, you know, where you got it? And it's like, well, we're trying to allow, you know, the animals or whatever to come, you know, be more in our yard. So anyways, I appreciate your presentation, what you're trying to do, and your understanding that the community doesn't fully understand or embrace this necessarily, and how are we gonna continue to be advocates and educators for these kinds of practices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the opportunity, and thank you, Tim, for the article about culture. We're still planning on doing some of that, especially up by the road, so that we have things growing on the pile so they don't look like it's just an unintentional pile of logs.
What are you gonna, I didn't hear all that. Richard, what are you gonna do up by the road?
We're gonna cover those piles of log so that it doesn't look like logs. So I got Dennis coming in July. And he's been real busy helping his daughter out up north, but he's willing to come back and do some work on those to kind of finish stuff off, to show people what you know, how they're gonna look.
Go ahead.
Oh, I misspoke earlier. I was wondering, as part of the sustainability fair in October 6th, we'll be giving an update about the Wren's farm, the Vestergaard property, and I wondered if that might be a good opportunity to have a little one-page handout about Honeybee and the Andres farm as well. So even if you did a quick write-up, you know, I can help format it or whatnot, but it might be a good opportunity for people to learn what you're up to.
Well, my wife is a teacher and she kind of specializes in this kind of thing.
Perfect.
But we'd be glad to have a one pager and, you know, try to develop a narrative along this lines. We're both very interested in ecology and trying to create an ecological culture, a culture for ecology, and get away from culture of consumption.
Richard, I have a question. Oftentimes people will call an arborist to come in and do some work because they have diseased or dead trees. And as you well know, there's a lot of native species of trees that are suffering from one kind of parasite or disease or another. Are you concerned that bringing in wood that's diseased is perhaps contributing to the problem of spreading it locally?
Yeah, I'm concerned. Yeah. You know, it's interesting because this subject came up in a discussion about wood chips. And, you know, if you put the oak wilt wood chips around oaks, there's a possibility that it could transfer. But the answer was a little ambiguous. Well, it can, but it's not very likely. But I think that is a problem. And as a gardener for the last, 40 years, that's something that we look at disease and how it comes through, every year on our annual cycle for our annual crops. And we try to rotate crops for that reason. So, again, as things compost, they transform. So there is that aspect too. So I look at transformation and I look at impermanence. Disease is part of it. There's always gonna be death, there's gonna be birth, no matter what happens, so, if,
Yeah, any other questions?
Yeah, I wanna say I'm glad to hear that you are being tighter on allowing people to come onto your property and bring loads. I think that'll do some to ameliorate the, complaints that come our way. And I'm glad you are here to do this. I wonder, this is recorded, Richard, and you're on candid camera.
Yeah.
So can you give a 30-second on what part of agriculture do these pothole logs and the system that you're creating out there
Yeah.
accomplish?
What does it accomplish?
Yes,
Um,
what part of agriculture is it?
Well, it's based on some writings of P.A. Yeoman, who's a farmer in Australia, who wanted to hold water on his farm. And so he developed these keyline swales on the farm that move the water from the keyline valley swale out to the ridges. And so in that same spirit, these logs, as they're placed on the land, would do a similar graduation of water out so that, your valleys aren't soaking and blowing water through. They're actually being diverted out at a 1% grade drop to the ridges so that everything is watered evenly. So if you look up any kind of permaculture design on the internet or P.A. Yeoman, it's very thoroughly discussed there. I think I'm afraid of getting into a bunch of jargon and abstraction that just sounds like gobbledygook. I'm gonna attempt to do more of that with this presentation we have that people can download on their phone or whatever it is, or this one pager. But it's a fairly standard permaculture design is to start with how does the water move over the land, and then how do you access the growing areas on the land with your roads. If any kind of driveway is a runoff surface, so how do you divert that water to keep it on the land? And holding the soil. So basically the idea is to hold the soil. So with a perennial polyculture, there's roots in the ground. It's like a mop. It does not allow water to drain off in the winter, spring, or fall. It holds and it builds the soil. It's how we got topsoil in the Midwest, because we had forests for thousands of years that were living and growing and dying back into the soil. So this is a little way to jumpstart that. So those swales or diversionary swales create those wet lines all the way on the ridge and would allow trees to thrive then in an area where they might not thrive.
Will they shrink and break down over time?
Over the years, they will degrade. Just when a tree drops in the forest, it degrades into the soil. The idea is it's a nurse log, so we're creating lines of nurse logs basically to degrade into the soil. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wait, can I ask a question?
You have a question, yes.
So, yeah, so Richard, are you planning then on moving, you've got them sort of in a sort of square shapes? They're gonna move back to the back of the property? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
on contour, so they would be on,
Along the little bridge.
yeah, so they would be on a contour rather than straight lines. There would be a contour hedgerow.
Okay, and then the hugelkultur is where you put chips on and then plant some stuff in there. right?
Chips and soil and compost, whatever you have.
Okay, so
can
this
go.
isn't really hugelkultur in the back. This is more of the water diversion and retention.
We'll see. I mean, it's expensive to move dirt. So I was gonna put these logs out there and I might scoop some dirt on them at some point and bury them, which would accelerate their decomposition. But they will decompose right on the surface as well. And again, the same with the chips. I have no agricultural subsidy on this land. So I don't receive anything from the USDA to do this. This is just my own passion. So, I do it as I can. And I'm trying to summon, some retired guys that have time, and some of them are volunteering, some of them need money. So as we're proceeding at a measured pace. We got thrown back last year. The topsoil didn't freeze at all. we attempted to move some of that was in front out back, and we were just sinking and it was making a mess. So it wasn't gonna work. So our plan was to revisit that process this July and, you know, continue that and kind of make a dent in that project. So, you know, so that on the logistical front, that's sort of the explanation there, is that we just, you know, the weather, that we never got a good freeze in the ground to do what we needed to do. We'd hoped everything would be frozen and we could just skitter across the top without sinking in, but it was just mud all the way through. So,
Are they gonna be a little lower to the ground, or are they gonna be, they look pretty from the road, pretty tall?
yeah, that's kind of a stockpiling area. Dennis had put those piles there, and then some of the other guys are bringing their logs there. So yeah, it got bunched up there, and I think that's what caught people's attention. But yeah, they're gonna be lower and they're gonna be more graduated along the contour, you know, so if I had a graph or something, that would be ideal. And I had hoped to had one at this point. But Andreas is going to Lithuania and he's got like a week and he's gonna try to wrap things up next week. So I will try to make this sign with a QR code that'll show where they go and, you know, some level of height and those things. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I think it's helped, just one last thing, I think it's helped to see people see progress. I think what was catching people's eye too was just that it seemed to be getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And now, you know, it looks very neat and cleaned up and presented here.
Well, that would have been our ideal, because I don't want the negative attention. And I don't want garbage on the site. But, you know, these things happen, and then, you know, it's a learning experience, so, yeah, so. Okay,
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Richard.
thank you. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and please, let me know if there's anything else I can do. I'll come up with the one pager.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Strawberries are ripe out there, I understand. Is that right?
They are, they're gonna get slammed with about an inch of rain here, in a couple hours.
Oh.
Then next week they're gonna get cooked, but looks like we're gonna get 5 days and
You
night.
get to Argus, there's a bunch there right now.
If you, there's talk, Devin, tabling at that sustainability fair, I think it'd be great.
I will talk with Deb. Yeah, she likes to go to those events and chat it up. She's a very social person, very gifted with the gab. That's her superpower.
Thanks, Richard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, under new business, well, one item, Marty, it's your last meeting, you're moving on to other things, and you've had many years of service to other entities of the township as well. And we've all talked among ourselves about how much we've appreciated you with this. We came on together, you'll recall,
Yes,
Marty,
Yes.
8 or 9 years ago, I think.
was it? Oh, my God.
Yeah. So,
A complete turnover.
yeah, well, wish you
Except for
well.
you and me.
Did you both have black hair back then?
Yeah, not me, no. So, all right, and I'm sure other people as well share their appreciation for your service, Marty. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Marty, Jacqueline Porteau, who is one of a former trustee who says she knows you.
She was
Yes.
at this-
Okay, she sends her best and says she's so grateful for all that you've contributed to the township, and she
She
appreciates
has
it.
that mind.
That's not mine.
Thank you
We
all.
all are. All right, you want to make a speech or anything, Marty? I withdraw the
Do you want us
request.
to put you on the spot?
I'm afraid about the coming election. Scio Township is, got some difficult times ahead.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that something will click to resolve the conflicts that I see, of which this woman spoke
Yeah,
among the staff. cetera. And the board. That has me very concerned. However, I intend to keep a whole my house. So I'm still formally a resident of Scio Township.
Good, good. All right, thank you.
Right, thank you, Marty.
All right, next, let's see. Open session consultants report. Barry, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, you waited patiently. I think we're ready to try you out. Now, do we have a way to share a vision of you, possibly, Chris, you know?
Yeah, I think he can do it from his end if he wants to.
Can you access, Barry, the camera on your computer, or do you have one?
I'm using my phone to communicate with you.
Oh, okay. So you think we may be limited to audio?
Yeah, I'm in a car on I-294 somewhere in Chicago.
Oh, my God.
Okay, well, we will.
Fortunately, I'm not driving.
Okay, well, we won't turn your car into a studio then. Maybe you can just tell us what your report consists of. I think maybe we've received your minutes. We can follow along.
Yes, correct. So 3 bullets for the open session meeting. You've all received the financial statements, most recent. And if you had a chance to review them, you can let me know if you have any questions about that, but that's the standard, what we always receive on a monthly basis. And thanks to Chris for tracking all that stuff down and getting it to us.
So that relationship that you've tried to set up where you automatically get the latest financial statement, is that working now?
I think so. Yeah, it was my first crack at it, but I took good notes. I think I can do it next month too. So.
Yeah, and the idea is that I get those things on the Monday before the meeting, and then I'll forward that to Liz to be included with my open session minutes and any other information for the packet that goes out to the public.
Okay.
In regards to spring monitoring, that's all been completed at this point. There weren't any issues with the one exception of I got out there on a day not long after some of that material that Richard just mentioned had been dumped on the property. And so I took a number of photographs on that. Also, some farm equipment and a large truck that's no longer in use. Needs to be removed from the property. And so I sent that report and some pictures to Richard's mom, who's actually the owner of the property. And she had called me on the phone, said she was in receipt of that. And she wasn't happy about it and said that there would be attention given to all those things sometime over the course of the year. Richard, of course, is a very busy guy these days running his business, not only there on the site, but also his home farm. And so they're aware of things and that will be addressed in the near future. But that was the only issue that came up on any of the monitoring visits this year. And then finally, there's a new RCPP proposal that's going to be submitted. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was on a Zoom call with some of our local partners, Legacy Land Conservancy, the Greenbelt Program, Washtenaw County Parks, and Legacy has stepped forward and agreed to submit a new proposal for RCPP. There's 2 pots of money from which we could receive funds. We most recently applied for the critical resource area pot of funds. And that was the one we got the $7.4 million award for, but we hadn't been able to access those funds. And it's looking more and more like we're not going to be able to access those funds. And we're hoping that doesn't work against us going forward, because we didn't actually fulfill what we said we were going to do. However, the upside of this new opportunity is that we're going to go for the multi-state pot of funds, and that pot of funds has a maximum request of $25 million. Whereas the other pot that we applied to a couple of years ago was $10 million, and we got 7.4. So we're putting together a proposal for the whole $25 million with many of the same local partners. Legacy is also working in Jackson and Lenawee counties, and so they're going to be having some of that funding earmarked for properties in those locations. But I went through and looked at how much money we have in the bank. In Scio, we have, of course, a 10-year commitment from the voters on a renewal, and that will generate about, well, in today's dollars, about $6 million. And so we will, I've put in a request for funds to cover all of that on a one-to-one basis. I don't think we'll get the full, I think I asked for, or said that we had $8 million available. We won't get all of that because we have other funding partners that also want a piece of that. But we'll get some part of that. It might be $2 or $3 or $4 million of dedicated federal funds for conservation easements of all kinds, not just farmland. So it could be natural areas as well. And this morning I submitted to the Legacy staff person there were 2 properties that we have current applications for. And I was told that if we had properties in hand that we should submit them as part of this grant proposal. Doesn't mean that they'll be funded, but it's a way to show that we have properties that are already in process, even if they're just applications at this point. And so that's going to be happening. That's already been happening, I should say. And that proposal is due July 2nd, and we'll keep our fingers crossed from there. Any questions about that?
Yes, Barry, did you say it's a $25 million pot and we are applying for most or all of it? The whole group of partners?
The maximum award available for a partnership to request is $25 million.
Okay, so this is like Scio and our local partners, we're as a group applying for these and we say we'd like to apply them to these projects. Is that the idea?
In the short term, but it's the funds, if we receive whatever amount, we may not get the whole 25 million, but we'll have access to the federal funds to apply to any properties that we come forth with. So I've nominated a couple of them here in the short term, and those might be the ones that we use money on, or it might be some new ones that come in the door also. So that's to be determined.
Okay, great.
Barry,
The federal funds, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry, please finish.
The federal funds will cover up to 50% of the appraised value of the development rights, and either Scio's millage and or funds from our local partners can cover the other 50% or a discount on behalf of the landowners.
Barry, this is Janine. Just to clarify, is this tied into a recent announcement for a total of like $1.5 billion that's coming from the Farm Bill and the Inflation Reduction Act?
No, that's something different.
Oh, okay, because those are also due July 2nd. I was just curious if that's the same thing.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's different. I did also receive an email from the federal grant coordinator that we work with, Brian Thomas, about properties that we might submit for that kind of funding.
Okay.
But if
and that looks like that is mostly for farming, agricultural related conservation strategies and projects. Okay, is that your understanding?
Yeah, I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I have one other question, Barry. You said, is it like we were applying for a different pot of funds, but now we're applying for the multi-state pot? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, so previously we submitted to the other pot of RCPP money, which is the critical resource area, and the Western Lake Erie Basin is one of the critical resource areas around the country. The Greenbelt program led that grant application and was told that that was the best way to go. That's turned out not to be the case. And so we're not going to be messing with that. This time we're going to instead apply for the multi-state pot of funds, which has a maximum of $25 million per request.
Okay, and that's what the Legacy Land Conservancy is heading up instead of the Greenbelt, right?
Yes.
Yes, I think the Greenbelt's pretty burned out at this point. With
Okay,
the
okay,
lack of success and the headaches that have gone with that previous proposal.
great.
And so I don't think anybody was willing to step forward. But great credit to Legacy here. They said, they'll take it on and be the coordinating agency of it.
Thanks.
Cool, thanks for trying to help us get additional federal funding to support our local land preservation conservation efforts.
And that's all for the open session report.
Okay, thank you. All right, then next we have attendance at our next meeting, July 11th. Anybody having challenges with that date?
Unfortunately, I will be out of town.
I will be on vacation then. I could zoom in for part of it, but not,
Not for
can't be
both.
in person.
Tim, how you doing?
What about Riser?
It's, we
July 11th.
are considering being out of town, but it probably would not include their sale. So I think I'll be good.
Okay, John, you can give us a yes or no on that date if you're still on.
Apparently
Is
isn't.
Riser still there?
He's on, I just don't know if he's.
Well, if we don't have a quorum,
Well, if Riser comes, we will.
Hello, can you hear me?
yeah, John, we're wondering
Sorry.
whether you'll be able to make the next meeting on July 11th.
Yes, I will.
Okay, all right, well, then we'll have a quorum. Thank you. How's life there on the porch in Mackinac Island, John?
I just got off a boat in
Oh.
Rough Seas. So, yeah. There was a little rain on the way over, but it's
yeah.
nice.
All
So,
right,
all right.
have a nice
Take care.
time.
Hey, I'm gonna mute myself.
All right,
Try to.
now we need a motion to go
Well,
into.
actually, we need to have Barry's consultant summary.
Oh, yeah, Barry, yeah, okay. I don't know how we got tied into these tedious details, but Barry, summary of what we're going to talk about in the closed session.
Yeah, so there's some updates on application 2022-2. And you folks will have an opportunity to recommend an appraisal of the development rights on that property. For property application 2020-7, the federal grant award was made and approved by the Board of Trustees. There's some updates on a couple of other properties. No recommendations that'll come out of it, but some actions that hopefully will move things along. There's one property that we've all the local partners have said they're not interested in, so we'll sort of take that off of the list. And there's one property that could be scored also.
Right, okay.
Barry, are you on speakerphone?
Yes.
I wonder if it would be, anybody else having trouble understanding?
Well, I have trouble all the time, so no worse than other times.
I'm just wondering if it might be clearer if you put the, got off a speakerphone and
He's in a car though.
talk that way. Would you mind that, Barry? Barry?
Barry, did you hear that?
No, what I think he left us and he may be trying to call back in, so.
Okay, all right. Let's move to public comments. Are there any further public comments? We can leave this one out next time.
The second one?
Yeah,
I've got windows.
Yeah. Yeah. It's looking dark.
Yeah, let's move it along here.
Hearing we're gonna have 2 inches or
Yeah,
shortly.
all right,
No
now,
public comments?
No, I don't see a big deal.
okay, then, may we have a motion to go into closed session? Yeah, sorry, have to say goodbye, wish you could stay.
Bye, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I
Daryl, we
will
might see you next month.
hope so. All right. I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Or, please, you need to say that
Okay, we have a
statement.
second, is that right?
Well, she needs to read that statement.
I make a motion to go into closed session for discussion of pending property evaluations pursuant to section 15.268D of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, specifically to consider the purchase or lease of real property up to the time an option to purchase or lease that real property is obtained.
Second,
Okay, Lisa, and,
We have we have a
And
roll call vote.
yes, Janine,
yes.
Marty,
What are we voting
we're
on?
voting on.
Moving
going
into
to
closed session.
Oh, yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Tim? Where did he go?
He went to close his Carter windows.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
And Will?
yes.
And Liz is a yes. Okay, closed session.
All
There we
right,
go.
and Barry, are you back?
So.
Okay, how about now?
All right, we are now in closed session.
Let's stop.
And Tim,
Chris is gonna,
Good. Okay, we're in open session. We need a motion to approve money for an appraisal of a property. Let's see, the property was
It's Hicks, and what is the property
Whoa, whoa,
number,
whoa.
Barry?
no, I'm looking for the code on it here. Where was
The
it?
application number.
I'm a-
yeah,
Yeah, what is the application number? Can you give it to us quickly?
2022-2.
Thank
you
you,
go.
sorry
Thank you.
about that.
Okay. You want to complete the
Yeah, so I move to recommend an appraisal for $3,250 on property number 2022-2, second.
a second?
And I'll support that.
And now we just voice vote or not? Okay, all in favor of the proposal? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Barry, we've approved that.
Which property was
Great,
that?
thank you. And I did look up the properties that the township owns and exclusively. And the other one that we, for which that is true, is the Loveland property, which is going to be the Marshall, the
Okay.
DD Marshall Preserve,
Oh, okay,
Marshall Road. That was just Scio money and Sykert and the Marshall Park.
okay, yep, thanks, Barry.
So those three. Yep. You're welcome.
Okay, before we adjourn, is there anything else that didn't get covered? Any comments people would like to make? Hearing none, may we have a motion to adjourn?
Hey, Will, can you hear me?
Yes, John.
So I couldn't score anything today because, I'm not there in person, but if I could score anything, I would score Marty Mayo a 10 on a scale 1 to 10 for all her commitment to this commission as well as to Scio Township. And Marty, it's been a pleasure getting to know you and to work with you as a member of the LPC. So thank you for your service. You might not be. So
So
thank
John,
you.
how many points do you give her?
I gave her 10 out of 10.
Okay.
No, it's up
I-
to 100, John.
Okay, I'll give her 11 out of 100.
All right.
Oh,
So,
no.
Is there a
Marty
motion
will
on-
miss you.
Not yet.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you all.
Thank you for attending, John. Have a good time up there. Don't drink too much.
I will not. That's for sure. All right, bye.
All right, a motion to
No
adjourn.
move.
Does anybody want?
Tim,
Moved
Sure.
and
I second.
second.
I'll have it.
All right. This is just a voice vote too, right?
Well, I don't, well, we didn't.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not,
No, I-
all in
I just-
favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye, right? Aye. We're adjourned.
We got you on.
We did. Thank you all, amazing. That was.
Okay, so